Hello and welcome back to the Checkpoint Reach podcast. This is a podcast that focuses on the gaming and latest movie news. I'm your host Luke Eldon and I'm joined by my fellow friends and gamers, Sud and Matty. How you doing, guys?
Very good. I'm very good, Luke. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks, mate. So what have you guys been up to the past week? Anything interesting?
Not really. I don't know, really. Just living life, you know. Just living life, really.
Living life to the fullest, yeah.
Living life to the dullest, I'd say, rather than the fullest. But you know, it is what it is, isn't it? It's you know, busy time of year, Christmas coming up, so exciting times ahead.
Best time of the year.
So it is.
Time of the year, if you ask me.
Yeah.
How about you, Matty?
I've been reliving childhood nostalgia, playing Pokemon on the Switch. I knew, like, well, we all knew that I was not going to be able to resist the urge any longer. Especially working in a game shop, just seeing it in front of me every day, I was like, right, you know what? I've just got to fucking buy it. I'm bad enough of this. So,
how is it?
Yeah.
You've caved in.
Good. Yeah, it is good, to be fair. Obviously, I'm buying Smash on Friday as well, so...
What's it like compared to the old Pokemons? Is it very similar still? Just with the
Go
mechanic?
Just Pokemon Yellow, basically. There's a few differences, but a lot of similarities.
Yeah. That's good.
Catching mechanic is probably the main change to the game. You don't have wild Pokemon battles anymore, but I actually don't mind that. It's kind of cool how you can just... So when you walk in now, like, you don't sort of just walk in the grass and then have a random encounter. The Pokemon, like the wild Pokemon, appear as actual, you know, Pokemon in front of you, and then you can just choose to walk into them if you want. Like, say, if, you know, like a Machop appears or whatever, you can just walk into it and choose to try and catch it if you want.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer that. I remember back with Red and Blue that I played, even though there's not much difference there, but walking through the grass and just having them randomly appear was annoying.
Do you think this is how they're going to go now? With the other Pokemon games, do you think they're going to keep the Go mechanic, or do you think they'll switch back to the traditional style?
It just ties in, and it's pretty cool as well. So the more Pokemon you catch in a row, so you can get like a catch streak. So, you know, if I keep catching... whatever, like a Psyduck, you know, like 90 times in a row, you get more chance of it being shiny, and you get more chance of it having higher stats as well. So it's kind of cool.
Sounds good.
I've spent like 3 hours trying to get a shiny Machop because I always get a Machamp in every Pokemon game that I can, and I just wanted a shiny one. But no, I just sort of looked at the clock and it said 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? But that's the sort of addictive quality that Pokemon has. It's always had that, like, you just want to carry on playing. And that's not gone. That's not gone. So that's the sort of the meat of the game is still there. It's still got that urge to want to level up your Pokemon, to want to fill out the Pokedex. So yeah,
that's good.
Sounds like it's done it right then. Well, we'll begin with our first topic of the day, which is that Epic Games have announced that they are bringing out their own store that's going to rival Steam. They're going to only take 12% of revenue as well, which beats Steam's current revenue, current revenue stream of 30%. So the developer only gets 70%. What do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about this news? Do you feel like Valve should be worried? Could it be the beginning of the end for Steam?
Well, I don't know. Personally, I think Steam is in trouble. I don't know if in trouble's the right word, but I definitely think there's things going on there. You know, they're not as big as they were. They're not as big as they were 3 or 4 years ago. I think there's a lot more competitors now in this field, and I think you've already seen there's a lot of reaction about this, and that 12% revenue thing, I think, maybe not necessarily straight away to move over from Steam, because Steam's obviously going to still have a bigger user base, but I think over time what could happen is if more and more migrate towards what Epic are doing, then, you know, it will be interesting to see what happens to Steam.
That 12% is a big undercut, isn't it?
It is big. I think that's quite big.
18% difference from Steam.
But Epic. We were just talking off air a little bit before, Luke, about Fortnite has made Epic massive amounts of money. They're a really rich company now, and they can maybe they can afford to do this because of how big. Fortnite's a cash cow. It's going to be a cash cow for them for the next 10, 15 years. So they might be making big losses on this, but in the long term, they'll probably gain from it. Because it'd be interesting to see though how gamers react to this. Will gamers migrate from Steam? Be interesting to see.
As a developer, I don't see why you wouldn't at least test the waters when they're offering such a bigger cut, or they're taking a lesser cut out of your potential earnings, shall I say?
Yeah, for developers, it's a no-brainer because you're making more money. It's going to be hard to get that user base to migrate over. It's very similar to sort of Xbox and PlayStation when you have your trophies and your achievements and your friends lists and everything like that. Obviously, all that's tied to Steam for a lot of people, so it is going to be difficult to get people to just like transfer all of their gaming to whatever this new service Epic are making is going to be called. Fortnite. It might as well just be called Fortnite.
Get the little.
They haven't called it that, to be honest. Because if they had called it that, it probably would have gained more traction as well.
I'm kind of surprised, given their absolute obsession with the PC market, that Microsoft haven't already tried to do something like this.
I wonder if they'll try and buy Steam at some point. If Steam does start maybe declining a little bit, I wonder if they'll stop think of purchasing them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that. I mean, I don't know the details of that. It'd be pretty. I don't know what the deal would be with Valve.
Microsoft have got a lot of money. I know they paid whatever it was for Minecraft. Was it like 1 billion, 2 billion? I can't even.
2 billion. I think it was 2.5, maybe 2.5 billion.
Yeah, they've obviously got a lot of spare.
I'm sure they've made their money off that, by the way. By now.
Yeah, probably. It's a license that doesn't just isn't just confined to the game. It's massive.
But that game's going. It's going to be on.
Everything.
Minecraft's going to be on the next platforms as well, isn't it? Like that's the thing. It's going to keep selling there on the next PlayStation and Xbox. But just going back to the Epic thing, it is interesting though. I'm not even that surprised they've done something like this because I think they're just trying to take advantage of Fortnite at the minute, aren't they? And this is the sort of thing they can do now that Fortnite's been such a success. I think as well, Matty was saying about the problem migrating people over. Maybe they feel like they can gain some of the casuals that have never been on Steam. Like because of Fortnite, maybe they think they can get all the the young kids and stuff like that to go over. I don't know about the ethical side of that, how ethical that is, but if there's some incentive, it'd be interesting. I do wonder how are they going to link Fortnite in with this store? Is there going to be some sort of like, if you get Fortnite from the store, are you going to be like entitled to some privileges that other people won't be on Fortnite? Or I do wonder whether they're going to do something like that.
I want to just chime in on ethics. I really don't think that Epic Games give a fuck about ethics with the amount of V-Bucks they sell and with the amount of shady business practices that go on. Like, oh, here's this skin for Fortnite. The only way to get it is to buy a PS4. There's no other way. Yeah. The only way to get this skin is to buy a controller, and the only way to get this skin is to buy the deep freeze bundle that includes nothing, but we'll put it in a box to make it look like it's a game, so parents will buy it for Christmas. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not asked about ethics, to be honest. They've already got millions of kids basically gambling.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's not really loot box, so I don't want to say gambling, but they are addicted to the skins. The amount of kids that I have coming into the shop, like screaming and throwing a paddy because their mum won't buy the battle pass, or they need some V-Bucks to get this, that, and the other skin. Yeah,
interesting to see.
Problem for Epic Games, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting what they're doing with it, but when I think you mentioned about players migrating over. If Epic Games can get the developers to come over, then that will be half the battle, because obviously if they can get developers to come over and potentially cut ties with Steam and Valve, then players will shift over as a result. And
it does depend on the it depends on the quantity, doesn't it, as well? The quality and the quantity, what they can get over. If they can get a really massive game over exclusive on their store, something along the lines of, I'm trying to think.
Fortnite 2.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just trying to think of maybe third-party examples.
No,
like
there won't be a Fortnite 2.
a bit, a big PC game. I don't know, something like Civilization, or one of these games that loads of PC players love. Just so if they get something on that scale over, then that would be a big win for them. Especially, that revenue, 12%. I don't think they're going to be making much money off that. I mean, the margins must be very low at 12%. So,
I mean, you'd assume so. But getting developers
Steam,
over with games like that is going to do the marketing for themselves, isn't it?
I think I've seen in the past, even Steam have complained about only having saying that they don't make much margins, some sort of 30%. So I don't know how Epic are going to make margins of 12%, but obviously they've got some sort of strategy in mind. But
just picking up on the Steam revenue, what they actually do is they take 30% revenue until the game's made $10 million in sales. And then from $10 million through to $50 million, Steam then takes 25%. And then the last part is it takes 20% for every sale over $50 million.
Okay. I suppose on the big games, then they probably make quite a bit of money.
But they're still getting undercut, even from the off.
Another problem I see with this is, I wonder... Well, I suppose it's not a problem for Epic, but just a problem in general with these services is Steam has a lot of shovelware on their service, and there's a lot of games that make pretty much zilch money, and they don't make any money for Steam, they don't make any money for themselves, and they're just on there to exist. And I do wonder if Epic are going to try a more concise model, or are they just going to go, right, everything on, everything go out, you know what I mean? Like, are they going to try and do the Steam model, but even worse?
You have to get greenlit in the first place by Steam.
That is true, but there's still, if you look on Steam, honestly, there is so much shovelware on Steam.
Yeah,
it's
the
unbelievable.
standards on Steam are absolutely shocking. Like Steam Early Access, there's been a lot of discussion on from people, a lot more clued in with Steam than us on Steam Early Access and why it's not a good thing. But I've just seen some of the games that are on there, and it's literally just people getting assets from other games and literally from like Google and just recycling them into like a 10-minute, just complete and utter waste of space, and somehow they've been greenlit by Steam. So I don't think there's anyone actually checking the quality of these games anymore.
Well, do you remember that game that got greenlit that was you were a school shooter? And you
I don't remember off the top of my head, but that sounds horrendous.
Yeah, and somehow
that's been allowed.
Yeah, that got greenlit. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, the regulations aren't that strict then.
That pretty much says it all. But even on the Microsoft and Sony stores, though, the quality is definitely declining. Like, they're allowing a lot more things on the store than they used to. I mean, if you just go on the store every week, there's so many games now. There's at least 10 or 15 games a week coming out, and I'd say 3 or 4 or 5 of them are just absolute trash, really. And it's like, I don't know how... They need to clean up their act, really, all of them, because there's too many games being allowed in. And I think with these storefronts and stuff, that there has to be a level of quality, and sometimes I think it just gets overloaded with absolute crap.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sid. Life of Black Tiger is one of the best games I've ever played on PS4. Absolute master.
I mean, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I mean, how was that allowed? I don't know how that's been.
If anyone is wondering what the hell we're talking about, just YouTube Life of Black Tiger, because how that's allowed on the PS4 on the PlayStation. So
I'll have to YouTube it later then, because I've not even heard of it.
You're in for a treat, Luke. It's. Is
it that bad?
It's an experience to watch it. It's yeah, it's terrible. It really is.
Yeah. Well, from what you've been saying, by the sounds of it, they seem to be caring more about quantity than these days. Instead of
that's the problem. Even Microsoft and Sony, it's all about quantity now. I mean, and you've heard all about the Switch store. Apparently the Switch storefront's absolutely horrific for like the amount of indie trash basically that's being allowed on there. It's getting almost as bad as Steam, the Switch storefront. So
yeah, but I'm not surprised by that, because the Wii was probably the console with the most shovelware ever known to man.
Yeah, that's true.
Games with like Golden Balls, the video game.
The one with Jasper Carrot.
Jasper Carrot, yeah. Oh, God.
Ready, Steady, Cook. You've got all sorts on there. It was just a complete...
Yeah.
I can't believe there was a Golden Balls game.
Yeah, there is. I'm pretty sure I've still got it at work. I might get a copy of it. And just
it must be like a penny now.
No, it's like 99p, but I'll just buy it because Jasper Carrot looks like you said.
I know, yeah. You've made that comparison before. But,
we should definitely play that.
Yeah, be a good one to play at some point. But yeah, I do think that a lot needs to be done with these storefronts. definitely, because people don't want to be seeing so many trash games coming every week. Because what it also does is it hides good games away. If there's a week where 20 games come out, there's going to be games that get not even mentioned, and they're going to be really good games, and they're going to go under the radar. And
yeah, the marketplace is oversaturated.
Yeah. Oh, it is oversaturated. Something needs to change. Hopefully, next generation. Although I'm not that hopeful, because I can imagine it going the other way next generation. But I'm hoping there's a bit more of a plan with Microsoft and Sony and Steam and this new Epic thing, where they start being a bit more careful what they put on, because it doesn't help anyone, does it? 25, 30 games come out a week. 20 of those games are going to sell like absolute garbage, and it's not good for the developers, it's not good for consumers, and it's not good for they mustn't be making much money on some of these games, Microsoft and Sony and stuff. So we'll see.
We will, and
we'll see what happens with it.
If I remember rightly, weren't Microsoft praised for their indies during the 360 generation?
Yeah, they had a lot of good quality indies, especially early to mid into the life cycle.
It can be argued that they kickstarted the entire indie scene, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
With Xbox Live Arcade. You have Braid, Super Meat Boy. There's a lot more I can think of off the top of my head, but in terms of digital distribution and this whole notion of, hey, you don't have to pay £40 for a game, you can pay £8 for a game, and it might still be quality. That whole notion, I think, was pioneered by Xbox Live Arcade. So there's a lot of things in the 360 generation that people take for granted. I think that console did, and Xbox Live Arcade was definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how things develop then with Epic Games' version of Steam that they're going to be introducing. It says coming soon, so I imagine it'll be early New Year.
That will be interesting, won't it, the release date? It'll be interesting to see. I assume it's probably going to be next year, maybe early next year. It seems a bit silly to announce it if they're not going to release it fairly soon. So it will be interesting to see how Steam reacts to this as well. Is Steam going to start, maybe lowering their revenue streams a little bit to try and compete?
Gabe Newell might have to get out of his bath of money and gravy and actually do some work.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, to be honest, with him. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we will. It'll be interesting. I think they might have to. Well, it depends, obviously, how much this Epic Games Store takes off. Then they'll have to decide if they need to cut their revenue stream down. Moving on to our next topic, and that's the controversy surrounding Bethesda and their Fallout 76 $200 Power Armor Edition.
I bought it.
You did buy it. Did you get the nylon bag?
Yeah, everyone got a nylon bag.
Well, that's what I'm about to talk about, yeah.
It looked like a quick save carrier bag.
This is such a perfect topic for you, Matty. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, I've already dug into Bethesda enough. Is there really any more that we can say about Fallout 76? Everything's gone wrong. The game's broken. The collector's edition's broken. It went on sale after about 2 days. They refused to give refunds to PC players on the Bethesda store. It's just a complete and utter mess. It's literally one of the most shambolic game launches I can remember, because literally everything has gone wrong.
It's so bad, isn't it? It's just, I think the worst part about this story, Luke, is the fact that their excuse for the lack of bags was it's too expensive, apparently, and it's just like, hang on a second.
It's false advertising. You advertise the canvas bag. I think what was worse, Sud, was their original offer to people who bought the collector's edition and didn't get the canvas bag was 500 atoms worth.
Yeah, and then it costs 700, doesn't it?
Yeah, it costs 700 to buy the bag in game.
What's that? They're trying to nickel and dime everyone. It's like, oh my God.
This has only just been announced recently, but they've caved. Like, if you go onto Bethesda support and raise a ticket, you will now get a canvas bag. They are now producing canvas bags in like a mass quantity.
You have to fill in a form.
I might do it, but
what an absolute mess that is, though. It really is.
To add context to anyone listening and doesn't actually know the story, basically they advertised a duffer bag, a canvas duffer bag, or duffel bag, sorry, and with the armor edition, yeah, the bag that came was a nylon bag that was, I don't know, how much do you say that cost to make, Matt?
About 40 pence.
Oh yeah, it was easily something you could chuck away.
Save 40 pence. Yeah, it was shocking. Like I said, quick save bag, even though quick save aren't in business anymore, is probably the most apt description of that bag. It was bloody shocking.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, and when you coincide with how badly reviewed the game's been and how buggy as well, this has got to be a PR disaster for Bethesda. Probably one of the biggest that I can think about in the most recent years. What comes close? Maybe No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't believe this is happening with Bethesda. I really can't. It's unbelievable. I mean, how much mess are they in at the minute? Their public relations at the minute are so bad. I just can't get over it. I can't believe they'd mess up this much. I know many people think, it's only a bag, whatever, who cares? But it's the principle behind it, isn't it, really?
Yeah. They're
just in a mess.
Advertising. It was advertising, so.
It's just more bad news for a company that does not need bad news at the minute. It needs a pickup. It needs something to help alleviate some of these problems. And I just don't know where that's going to come from at the minute. There's just no good news about this game. I mean, it pretty much says all that none of us have any.
Is there a way back for Fallout 76 from this?
The one advantage, I would say that the one advantage they do have is, they do have this loyal, almost rabid fan base at times that if they do start improving, I think people will start coming back to it. But it's never going to be as big as what it could have been. I think that's for sure. There's going to be people that probably never. I wouldn't be surprised if there's people already saying I'm never touching a Bethesda product again after this, because it's just a complete mess. That's the word I keep coming back to, a mess, because that's what it is.
It definitely is. What about you, Matt? What do you think? Do you think there's any way back?
Well, for Bethesda or for Fallout?
Fallout 76.
Probably, just because I remember that the Elder Scrolls Online released in a similar state, and now that's apparently okay. So they will fix it. It's just a case of by the time they fix it, I don't think anyone's going to care.
Apparently, though, there's a lot of things in that game that people have been saying. People keep saying about, they'll fix this eventually. But apparently, there's actually just fundamental problems with the game that they really can't fix. I think that's one of the issues. There's things in the game where it's like, even with patches, how are you going to fix this? I think that's one of the problems.
Isn't there a power armor glitch that they can't fix?
Yeah, I heard something about that, and it's just... why wasn't this game just an early access game? Why wasn't it just one of the... how Xbox have that game preview thing? If it had been a game preview game... Yeah, but if it had been game preview, people couldn't have really had a problem with it, because it's like, you know what you're paying for.
They could have just done what PUBG did.
Yeah, exactly. And PUBG got away. I mean, people moaned about PUBG, and people still do moan about PUBG, and rightfully so. But at least that game had on the thing, it's in beta. It's a preview product. So you basically they get out the get out clause. Yeah.
I feel like we need to all play PUBG again, just for the lols.
Well, I have actually played it a couple of times recently, and yeah, it's. I mean, it's
a broken mess.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is it's a bit less laggy at the start of the game. If you remember that horrible jank there was at the start of the game, it's a little bit smoother, but
I wonder if it'll be smooth for me, though, with my OG Xbox.
That is a good point, yeah. And the Xbox One X apparently performs a lot better than the original Xbox. Apparently it's horrific on the original Xbox. It's funny because it's coming to PS4 as well in a couple of days. So
yeah, Friday. The OG Xbox, I think... when did you play it last, Eldon? Was it like 6 months ago? I think the textures are still loading from then.
They probably are.
That's probably true. But yeah, PUBG, I mean, that's another example, isn't it, of a game that... well, actually, that's the opposite, because actually that when it first came out to PC, people were praising it, weren't they? Because they'd never seen anything like that. But that seems to be the opposite direction, where that game's got worse and worse over time somehow. Or the reputation of the game anyway has got worse and worse. But whereas now people I don't think people really care about that game anymore. Things have overtook it, haven't they? Blackout's overtook it. Fortnite's continued success. So it can work the other way as well.
Well, I'd also, with Bethesda and Fallout 76, I'd also read that someone had done a side by side, and they'd found that Bethesda had taken assets from, was it Oblivion, and they put it into Fallout 76. They just reused them.
Stop!
Just
You
lazy.
have violated the law.
I wish that was in the game. That was one of the best lines from Oblivion. That game had some epic lines, but that's really lazy, isn't it? That just smacks of laziness to me.
Yeah, it really does.
Do you know what I do wonder with this game? I wonder what the budget was for it. I wonder how much money they've actually pumped into this game. I wonder whether it was just a cheapskate game where they've gone, here's, 30 million, go make a Fallout game, or have they pumped 200-300 million into it? Because
I feel like the marketing budget would have been pretty big.
the marketing does seem a lot, but it seems to me that the game cannot have had much money behind it in any other department. So maybe for them, it isn't a failure, even though it's selling terribly and stuff. Maybe because it maybe didn't cost that much to make. Maybe for them it was an experiment. It's clearly going wrong, but
I read rumours that it lost 12 million, or they had lost 12 million on this game so far. I don't know if that's...
It's a drop in the... I think that's a bit of a drop in the ocean, though, for Bethesda, isn't it? I mean, 12 million is not a drop in the ocean in general, but for a company like Bethesda with their success, think of all the sales Skyrim and Fallout 4 have had, for example, in the last 5-10 years. I mean, 12 million is nothing to them. So if that's all they've lost so far, I don't think they'll be losing too much sleep over it. I mean, it's not a good trend, is it, to lose money? But
no, it's not.
I don't think they'll be losing sleep over it.
Yeah, you'd assume they'd be okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
does this put you off playing further future titles?
It depends, because it'd put me off future titles if there was all these online components. But if they just make, a single-player focused game, no, because I know that, Fallout 4 wasn't the greatest game in the world, but it still had elements of Fallout that are fun. The game is still fun to play, And I'm sure Fallout 76, there's probably times, if you're playing with mates, that there's funny things happen and you're enjoying it, but it definitely leaves a sour taste, doesn't it? It doesn't put me off, getting the next Elder Scrolls, because I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan, big Fallout fan, so it wouldn't put me off too much, but if this carries on happening, then there is going to be a lot of people that get put off.
Yeah. How about you, Matty?
I don't think I'd be put off any Bethesda titles, to be honest, because they do make good games. Like Sud said, the online only, if there was another online only based game that they made, I wouldn't trust them, but I didn't trust them going into this. I literally said before this game came out, it was a disaster waiting to happen, because Bethesda are known for bugs in their game, and combining that with online where, the environment is 100 times more unpredictable. You've got a group of 4 people online playing together, or in PvP, or whatever the situation is, it's 100 times more likely to be buggy, 100 times more likely to glitch. So I didn't have any faith that this was going to be a good game whatsoever. But I'm looking forward to, Doom Eternal. I think Doom was absolutely bloody brilliant. So
Doom was a great game, yeah.
They do really make good games. They need to start listening to what fans want, because I just see this sort of downward trend at the moment with Bethesda, and it's just because they're not listening to the fans. Fans didn't want paid mods, and they decided it was a good idea to do it anyway. Were fans really clamoring for an online Fallout game? I know I wasn't. Most people,
no, I don't think many were.
Want to explore it single player anyway. So yeah. I feel like that was just a construction in their own head. Instead of asking what people actually want, which would be Skyrim or another not Skyrim, but another mainline Elder Scrolls game or another mainline Fallout game, they just decided, we'll make what we want. Because online's trendy, people are buying the skins on Fortnite, and people are, playing COD and this, that, and the other. We'll make an online game. No, you won't, because you don't know how to fucking do it. And this is just the proof. Absolutely shambolic.
Just makes
it's an experiment that's gone wrong, hasn't it? It's an experiment that's gone wrong for them.
Yeah, I don't think people should be paying full price for an experiment.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I think the game should have been priced at £30, maybe even £25. Because that's the experience that people are getting. It's not a £40 or $60 experience.
This is what we said from the start, though. When we heard it, when we watched the announcement, Sud, I think me and you watched it, didn't we? We watched it live.
Yeah.
When you look back to that and you see Todd Howard making his joke about their games being buggy, the internet says our games are buggy. Well, you've proved they are.
Yeah, he's proved his own point. I mean, Yeah, there's been a lot of weird decisions, hasn't there, in the last few months with Bethesda and their I just hope this isn't the direction that they carry on going in. I just want them to get. Hopefully, next year. I think the new Wolfenstein game, the spin-off game, is rumored to be coming out possibly next year. So hopefully that's good. Doom as well, So hopefully they'll get back on track. But yeah, it leaves a sour taste because we know the next Elder Scrolls game is at least 3 or 4 years away, and we have to wait now another 3 or 4 years to see what the result of this is. So
yeah, and they also have the what's the game that's set in space again? Is it, what's that called again?
Starfield,
that's it.
Yeah.
When's that rumored to be?
It's rumored to be before the next Elder Scrolls, so probably maybe in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, something like that. And then another 2 years after that will probably be Elder Scrolls, I think.
Just imagine if that has similar issues. Well, bugs and stuff that people are clearly against, and then they're getting bad reviews. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the next Elder Scrolls game to deliver.
I'm definitely interested in Starfield because online space opera games are obviously with Mass Effect is obviously the best example. Space is a fascinating thing for games to go into. So it's it'd be interesting to see how that goes. See what their take on it is. We'd all love a space opera like Mass Effect, wouldn't we? Or that quality. So
yeah, I definitely would.
Especially now Mass Effect's at the minute on hold. So
yeah, in a coma right now.
It is in a coma at the minute. Hopefully it'll come back one day, but
yeah.
I think it's a coma that it's never getting out of personally.
You don't think?
No.
That's yeah. Well, I hope you're wrong. Because
yeah, I hold out hope.
I love Mass Effect. But
speaking
I think it'll come
BioWare,
back
though. Speaking of BioWare, that takes us nicely onto our next topic, which is BioWare hinted at a new Dragon Age on their blog. Things have gone quiet since 2014 after Inquisition was released and won Game of the Year that year. However, there's rumours that a new Dragon Age is on the horizon. Well, I say on the horizon. It's still a few years off, but there's a speculated release date of 2021. What do you guys make of that? I mean, I know me and you, so we enjoyed Inquisition, didn't we?
I did enjoy that game. I thought it was really good. It wasn't a perfect game. There was problems with it. The open world was a bit boring, to be honest with you. There could have been more things in it, but I like the interaction with the character. That's the BioWare. That's what they're great at, aren't they? Characters and story. That's the main two fortes. Gameplay's never really been a massive forte, has it, for BioWare? You never think, the gameplay's amazing in any of their games, really.
No, it's the story and the character development that usually keeps me hooked.
Yeah, and the RPG mechanics and stuff like that. But
however, saying that, Mass Effect 2's gameplay was phenomenal.
Yeah, Mass Effect 2 and 3. I think people forget, even though 3's gameplay was really good. The story was not great, but
there was a third Mass Effect. I don't remember that. I think it ended at Mass Effect 2.
I think you've blanked it out of your memory. But
I think most.
Do you know what worries me the most though about this? Well, I suppose announcement. It's not been announced yet. It's obviously rumored to be going to be announced at the Game Awards in a couple of days. But what worries me the most is the rumours about it being 2021. I mean, that gives a long time for EA to pull the plug. That's what worries me about that release date. And I feel like this game is going to depend on the success of Anthem. If Anthem doesn't do as well as they think, you can probably say bye-bye to Dragon Age.
Yeah,
Mass Effect.
I was going to say the same thing. It feels like there's such a gap because they're waiting to see how well Anthem performs.
It's strange though, isn't it? Why announce it now then? If they're not sure. Is this BioWare saying to EA, well, there's pressure on you now. We've announced it, so you better fund us and make it. Is this sort of a thing to EA from BioWare? Maybe it is.
Maybe. A risky strategy.
It is a risky strategy, but if they announce it, who's going to get the flack? It's going to be EA that gets the flack if it never gets, if nothing comes of it. It's not going to be BioWare, because BioWare can just turn around and say, well, look, they haven't funded it.
Yeah, that is true. What do you think about this, Matty?
I'm happy that BioWare are allowed to make games, but like Sud said, it might just be a red herring in a way. I've got to be honest with you. I didn't enjoy Dragon Age Inquisition. Unpopular opinion. I just really couldn't get into that game.
How far did you
get in? I know a lot
in?
of people enjoyed it. Literally like 5 or 6 hours into the game. And I know it's like a 50 to 100 hour game, so nowhere near finishing it.
Were you a fan of the other two games, Matt? Or not?
I like Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Dragon Age 2, not so much, but it seems to be hit and miss with that series as a whole, to be honest with you. Like I said, it's just what BioWare do best. It's good writing.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little worried about Anthem, because there has been the odd exception with like Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, as you've alluded to, but they don't really do combat that well, or at least well enough to make an entire game that's just going to be combat loop grind,
Yeah.
Beat a mob of enemies and then go back to your base and level up your armor, that's what I'm assuming Anthem is going to be. I mean, we don't really know much about the game. I'm still skeptical that's even coming out in February. I know we're so close to it now, but I wouldn't even be surprised if it gets.
There's been rumours, hasn't there? There has been rumours about it getting delayed again. I wouldn't be surprised. I think they came out, didn't they, BioWare, and said, no, definitely not. It's definitely going to come out, but it wouldn't shock me if they put another maybe month, 6-week delay on it, even 2 months possibly, but hopefully not, because
I don't like delays, though, if it means that they can fine-tune their game and make it better.
I agree,
Red Dead
but
got delayed.
I agree, but it becomes a running joke after a while, doesn't it, when you start delaying your game so much? And the problem, I would say, is the later they go into the year, the worse it gets, because the mid to late next year looks packed again with games. So
I think what people get annoyed by, and I think what Sony have realised and have started doing, is not putting release dates on games that they don't have a definite release date for. Because I'm I'm with you, Eldon. If a game isn't ready, don't release it, because you just get a broken mess otherwise, like Fallout 76, and there's been many others this generation that have just been a complete mess at launch, and they clearly weren't ready to release. But it's like, don't put a date on it. If you're not sure about when this game is going to come out, don't say, hey, it's coming February 22nd, because it's not, and that's why I think Sony have got it right, how it's just like they don't put release dates on anything now until they know 100% it's going to be ready, because they've been burned in the past. It's just it's not always as easy as just saying, hey, this game's going to be ready in 12 months. Developers can run into complications. There can be unforeseen sort of problems with the game, and I'd much prefer it if they just didn't give a solid release date, months, sometimes even years ahead of the game, because it just gives people false hope. They're like, oh, this is coming out February the 22nd. Nope, let's just pull the rug from under your feet. It's not coming out February. It's coming out in 2 years.
Yeah, and then you get negative press that comes with it as a result.
Yeah. So if you're not ready to put an actual firm date on things, just don't do it. Simple.
What I would say is as well about the release date is just one thing I thought of just now. The problem with delaying it again, as much as that might seem a good thing, if they delay it too long, Division 2 is going to be out. And at the minute, they're before Division 2. But if they delay a couple of months, Division 2 will have been out a month. And that's not a good thing, because Division 2 is their main competitor in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing to consider. They're going to want people playing Anthem. They're not going to be wanting people, looking at Division 2. And if the game comes out after Division 2, it might be too late. People might be like, oh, especially if Division 2 comes out and it gets 9s, 10s across the board. I'm not sure it will do that, but if it does, then it looks bad on Anthem then, doesn't it? So
yeah, and apparently didn't the original Division, that started to make vast improvements in it towards
people
towards the mid
said it.
stage.
Yeah, I think quite a few people still playing that game. It's not that popular, but there's a dedicated fan base there, and they did improve it. And Ubisoft are a big company; they've got a lot of money behind them, so I think they're going to pump a lot of money behind Division 2 to try and make it a thing. So.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally not interested in Division 2. I haven't played the first one. I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest. Did you play the Division, Luke?
No, actually, I missed out, but I seen it was on Game Pass, and I was going to try it.
Yeah,
because I heard it's improved, but then again, if there's a lack of player base,
might be a bit late now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I haven't got round to it.
Anthem is the one for me I'm looking forward to in that space. That's the thing with Destiny as well. We're just talking about the gameplay. about Anthem, I'm not sure about the gameplay. That's why people still play Destiny, isn't it? If Destiny 2 didn't have good gameplay, that game would be close to dead, because that is the reason people go back to it. Because the gameplay is flawless, to be quite honest, on Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason they're so successful. And if Anthem can't find something like that gets people coming back, then they're going to struggle.
Yeah,
I hope they don't. Yeah, exactly. And I hope they succeed. I really do. Not even just for Anthem's sake. I'm hoping they succeed more for Mass Effect and Dragon Age's sake, because I want to see.
I'm with you there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do, because I want to see more single player Mass Effect games and more single player Dragon Age games, because they were, two of the best franchises from last generation.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I'm hoping for the success of Anthem more so for future games that BioWare can obviously create and develop.
Absolutely.
So the question is, do we think Anthem will be a success? What's your gut telling you? I know we don't have too much to go off.
No. That's my gut. My gut feeling is no. I don't know. I haven't seen enough hype around the game generated, to be honest. I feel like it should have been out last year, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's missed its sort of window for people to actually want to play the game now, because like we just alluded to, the more and more you delay the game, the less and less people are interested in the game in most cases. It just falls off people's radar, and I think this is going to be one of the ones that falls off people's radar unless EA do some sort of massive marketing push for it.
Which I wouldn't be surprised by.
I think they will. I think they're definitely going to put a lot of money behind the market.
They're going to have to, because a lot of people, that's just fell off so many people's radar. I think a lot of gamers who were interested in the game when it was first shown at E3, because it was like an impressive showing when they first showed it off at E3. I think if you ask them now, hey, you're looking forward to Anthem, they'd be like, oh, I forgot that I even existed.
It's got a lot of competition around that time as well with releases. You've got Resident Evil 2 coming out, you've got Kingdom Hearts 3, you've got Crackdown.
They're not really direct competition, though,
No,
I think
but
the direct competition is the
but,
Division. And I agree with you. Yeah. I think the Division has a very good chance of doing better than that game, just because the Division 1 has gone free. It's on Game Pass. It's a lot of people have played the original Division in the last 6 months that necessarily might not have never played it.
That's true.
I think that's going to help, sales of the Division 2, whereas Anthem's a completely new IP, so people don't really know what to expect with it.
How are we defining success for Anthem, though? That's what I'd like to ask, because there's obviously different ways you can view it. Are we talking it has to sell a certain amount of copies? Are we saying there has to be a level of interest?
For me,
I think EA will sell about 5 million.
Yeah, they need money, EA, don't they?
Is that what
judge success? I think
they want it to sell 5 million.
That's just
I imagine.
That's just a complete sort of stab.
I think it has to say way more than 5 million. Personally, I think it has to sell more than that to be a success. 5 million across 3 platforms. I mean, it's on PC. Is it coming to PC as well? I think it is, isn't it?
I believe so, but I still don't see it selling over 5 million.
Do you not think they'll compare the numbers to Destiny?
I don't think they can compare the numbers to Destiny. I don't think they can expect it to be as popular as Destiny. If they're expecting it to be as popular as Destiny,
it won't be.
In terms of sales, then I think they're already done for. BioWare, that is, because there's no way it's going to sell as much as Destiny. They have to be more realistic. They have to be maybe sell as much as the first Division game sold, something like that, because
EA doesn't do realistic though, does it?
No, I know they don't. I mean, they were disappointed with Battlefront 2 sales, weren't they? And that's sold 17 to 20 million copies. I don't know. I don't know if I can answer at this point whether it's going to be successful or not, because we haven't even properly seen it. We have seen it, but we haven't seen what it's fully going to be yet. I think we have to wait closer to release to see that. I think we have to wait to see how they start as well. If they start really strong and people love the game, that's a good start and that could help them. If there's problems early on, I don't know. I worry. I really do worry. If there's some problems, servers not working properly, lag, glitches, things like that.
Wouldn't surprise me with the EA servers, to be honest with you.
No, I do worry about that. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. It's hard. I mean, hard to define what success is with the game, because if you're looking at it from EA's point of view, it's going to be sales and money.
Well, the game could sell 10 million copies in a month, but EA might be like, that's not enough. We wanted more than that.
Yeah.
We don't know EA's expectations for the game, do we? That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, that is the stumbling block with that. I don't know. Will it be a success? I don't know. I'm hopeful. Like I said, well, like you mentioned, Sud, I agree with. Just more so for BioWare's future. I hope it's successful.
It's going to be one of the big stories going into next year, isn't it? It's going to be one of the big things that people say. It's one of the big things to look out for next year because it could be the death of BioWare. It could be. I hope not.
Yep.
Or, looking at a more positive spin, it could be the making of them in terms of their revival.
I feel like they signed a deal with the devil, with EA.
Well, they had the chance, didn't they? I mean, their first, Mass Effect 1 was published by Microsoft, and they decided to go with EA at the time. Maybe they thought it was a good idea. But can you imagine now if BioWare had been bought by Microsoft?
To be fair, I want to just say, we all love Mass Effect, but we all know sitting here with Microsoft's track record as well, they're no angels.
No, that's true.
If Microsoft did sign BioWare up, I think we'd be on like Mass Effect 9 by now.
True, but
Effect, Andromeda, which is 4, because they can't help themselves.
No, I agree with you, but I would say that was under the old Microsoft. I mean, this is a new Microsoft now. Well, we think
New Dawn. I can't wait to see this new
I know, but no, I know, but what
they've got some good developers. You know what? They've got some really good developers, and I cannot wait to see what Ninja Theory do with a real budget. And there was Mike Ybarra. He's high up at Microsoft. I'm not sure what his actual position is anymore. I think he was doing an interview recently where they were talking about the budget that these studios have, and he was like, we're not about budgets. We've told them to make what they want, achieve their dreams and all this. I hope that's true.
It's positive sign
that's not bullshit, because if Ninja Theory get an unlimited budget, they'll make
a great game. Yeah, but what I'm saying, that's why I was saying, can you imagine now BioWare with an unlimited budget for a new Mass Effect? I'm very confident they'd make a great game. I've got no doubts about that, based off their previous Mass Effect games.
If they had enough time to do it, I agree.
If they had time and they had money. Because let's be honest, Mass Effect Andromeda, that must have had half the budget that Mass Effect 3 had.
Well, they dismantled the team pretty much, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it was made on not a shoestring budget, but it was definitely reduced budget. And I just think BioWare are a company that deserve success because they've made great games. Even, Knights of the Republic, games like that. Fantastic games. They've always made fantastic games. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Many people's favourite BioWare game. I mean, I
feel like, unfortunately for them, with the exception of Mass Effect, and Mass Effect 2 was a big seller of Mass Effect 3, I feel like all of their games are very good games, but they're all cult classics. I don't think any of them have really... They don't sell well, in a way. They sell well enough to justify them existing, but they don't sell massive amounts of copies. It's more like cult classics that they make, because everyone looks back fondly on all the games, but I don't think... Like I said, maybe I'll be proven wrong with Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, because I know they sold, very well. But none of them have done huge numbers, and I think it's going to be the same thing with Anthem.
I think if I'm not mistaken, the original Dragon Age sold really well, mainly because there was a lot of PC, wasn't there? It sold a lot of copies on PC. It also sold pretty well on 360 and PS3 as well, but I think PC helped Dragon Age become quite a big franchise. But I know Dragon Age 2 took a drop from 1, and Inquisition sold reasonably well, but I don't think it set, the world on fire sales-wise. So, yeah, I agree with you, but that's why I think BioWare now with a Microsoft would be good, because Microsoft now they don't need games to sell extraordinary numbers with this Game Pass they've got now. If Ninja Theory's game comes out and sells 1 million copies, that might be enough for Microsoft. Microsoft might go, well, you know what? You've got 2 million players. You've gained people. You've made people sign up for Game Pass, and so that's why I think if they went with someone like a Microsoft, that would be good for them, because maybe sales, it wouldn't matter as much as with EA.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. It's one of those, though. I guess we won't know, will we? We'll never know.
We'll probably never know unless BioWare gets dropped by EA at some point, but more likely to just go out of business, aren't they, under EA, I think.
Well, that's the problem. Even if BioWare do get dropped by EA will still own the Mass Effect franchise. They'll still own the license for Dragon Age. So it's not like BioWare can run off to another developer and be like, oh, we'll make Mass Effect for you now, because EA hold the license. So
no, that is true. That would be a
stumbling block, to say the least.
Would be a stumbling block.
Moving on to our next topic, which is video game industry must address the loot box controversy, International Game Developers Association boss says. So, apparently, the IGDA chief, Jen McLean, calls for self-regulation before politicians get involved. I know this is a subject that riles Matty at times, and I think riles most gamers at times, to be fair. So I was just wondering what your guys' thoughts are on this, and do we believe it is a form of gambling?
Yes. That's a simple answer to that. Buying a pack with completely random outcomes of what player you're going to get is gambling. If I come up to you, Eldon, and say, here you go, if you give me £1, I've got 10 things in my pocket, 9 of them are complete and utter garbage, and one of them is Red Dead Redemption 2, but you have to give me £1 and I'll do a random draw to see which one you get. That's gambling. I don't care which way you try and spin it, it's gambling. And the fact that, you know, it's like 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids doing this, buying, you know, packs and buying crates on Rocket League and, you know, every variation of it, just kind of makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest, that they're getting away with it, because gambling has been something that's it's addictive, and there's a reason that you have to be 18 in the UK anyway, you know, legally to gamble, to bet, you know, on sports and whatever it may be, because it is extremely addictive. And the fact that sort of younger minds that are more open to this sort of thing are exposed to it is pretty disgusting, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Matt on it. It's definitely gambling. There's no doubt about it. They've tried to spin it in a way, haven't they, to make it seem like, oh, no, it's not gambling, definitely not. You know,
it enhances the gamer's experience.
It enhances the game. It enhances the game. It's not gambling, you know. You've got a good shout of winning things, and it's like, but it's gambling. I mean, it just is. I don't know how they're getting away with it, to be honest. I think, well, one of the reasons I think maybe why they're getting away with it is because they're so powerful, aren't they, these game companies now? They make so much money, and they're so powerful that, you know, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, do we? We don't know. There's been backhanders going on and everything to these governments to, you know, to try and halt these processes. I do think it's going to come to a head at some point, though. I think, I don't know if it was in that article, but I think it's the Australian and American governments now or something, or departments that are looking into it.
Definitely the Australians.
Yeah, and, you know, if the Americans get involved as well, I think it's definitely going to come to a head. I don't think it's going to stop, though. I think this is going to carry on.
Oh, yeah. We had the similar thing last year with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, exactly. And, EA have been made to pay for that, which is a good thing because it's kept them in check to a certain extent with their other games.
But it hasn't eradicated it, has it?
It hasn't eradicated it, no. But it has stopped the more aggressive type of loot boxing in their games. You know, I don't actually know because I haven't played Battlefield 5. I don't know what the loot box situation's like in that game. I don't know whether it's. I think there is loot boxes in there, maybe, possibly. I don't know if it's. I know all the DLC's free, isn't it, for Battlefield 5? But I'm not sure about the loot box situation with that game. I'm not sure about that one.
No, I'm not sure about that one as well.
You know, FIFA is EA, and their loot box system's still as bad as it was in 2009 with FIFA 09. So, with Ultimate Team. So, I don't know where it's going to go from here. I mean, we thought, didn't we, last year with EA, if they got away with it, more and more companies, and it's going to be in every game. But there does seem to have been not a decline, but a slowing down of this loot box process. So
yeah, well,
I think
with FIFA, just quickly, I remember I read an article a couple of weeks ago, and a guy had emailed EA asking for his history of his transactions to do with FIFA and obviously Ultimate Team, and it turned out he'd spent, I think, just over $30,000 in a year and a half.
Was it me?
I was gonna say, was that Matt?
Well, I don't think it was. I know Matt and quite that bad.
Are both spent,
are you, Matt?
I reckon between them, Matt and Perks have probably spent a good £20,000 on packs. I mean, there was a time, wasn't there, where oh, you know what I'm talking about. You know, there was a period there where the FIFA addiction was real and the Ultimate Team addiction was real. But
it's pretty good though because I got Jibril Cisse, so it was all worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Lord of Frodsham. as he's known.
And I'm sure perks would point back to the time he got Ibrahimovic and Ronaldo in the pack, in the same pack. So, but
we don't talk about him. He's dead.
But yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with it. I don't think there's any doubt. Can anyone really say that it isn't gambling? These loot boxes, they're gambling, aren't they, at the end of the day? And they shouldn't be in them. They shouldn't be in games.
I understand the argument for some of them, like Fortnite isn't gambling. It is not gambling.
No, because you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
That's
you pay
fine.
for the battle
I
pass,
do not have a problem
and you
with
can go through every level of the battle pass and see what you're going to earn if you get to that specific level. But opening a completely random generated pack, and obviously looking for the better players, because let's face it, if you're opening a pack on FIFA and paying real money for it, you'd prefer that you get Ronaldo in the pack and not bloody Chris Smalling. So, well, to be honest, you don't even get Chris Smalling in the pack. That'll probably be a good pack these days, knowing how bad the weighting of these players has got. It's just, it's terrible. FIFA is the biggest culprit for it when it comes to gambling. Some of the games I can see arguments for as to why it isn't gambling, but literally buying packs and having a completely random outcome as to what you get from it is gambling.
See, I mean, I don't like microtransactions. I don't like the microtransaction culture that's come about, especially this generation. But on the other hand, having said that, what I would say is that I have less of a problem with, if you straight want to buy something on the game. For example, on Gears of War 4, you can outright now buy skins and things like that, and that's fine. But on Gears of War 4, they've also got the loot box thing, so it's like they've still got it in there, and it's like, this is the problem. You're paying for a chance, a very slim chance at winning something, and that has to be gambling. It's the same as doing the lottery. It's the same as buying a scratch card. There's no difference. So I do think they have to be held to account for this.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think
whether anything's actually going to happen, I don't know.
They've gotten away with it for too long, it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like now they're trying to, implement some changes and stuff. Like you said,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Gaming companies have got that big. Can they do this?
And not just that, you look at the mobile market. Mobile phone games have had this in for 10 years or more, these microtransactions. So it's definitely not going to stop there, because that's where these phone companies make their money, from these games, off the microtransactions.
Yeah,
some of the phone games. If you ever, I don't know if you've ever been on any of these crappy phone games or anything like that, but some of them, the microtransactions are a disgrace. They're littered with them. Every 5 minutes, it's saying to progress, you have to buy this for for £1.50, and then it's £3 to progress, and it's terrible. It really is.
Yeah, and they sell you on the free-to-play aspect, apparently.
And I don't care what they say; they are definitely aimed at kids, and that's one of the biggest problems with it. They're aimed at children. A lot of these things, these loot boxes and things like that, and it's exploitation, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it is an addiction as well.
Yeah, definitely. You're right.
But like we said, I mean, is it too little, too late? I guess time will tell. I think something should be done about it, but I don't hold out much hope, to be honest. I really don't.
Not with the way the world's going as well.
No, I'd go along with that. Well, yeah, like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So we'll move on to our next topic anyway, which is that there's apparently a new Batman game that is potentially in development, which will focus on the Court of Owls, but won't make an appearance at the Game Awards and might potentially be announced at E3. What are your thoughts about this? I know I spoke to you, Sud, off air about it a little bit, because I was unaware of the Court of Owls. I didn't realise it was, what did you say, like a mob?
Yeah, if you've watched the Gotham show on Netflix, it's heavily referenced there, and also I think in the comics as well, it's a big thing. They're basically like a secret organization that pretty much behind the scenes runs Gotham.
Okay.
And they've been good and bad at different periods in the comics. So
well, there you go.
It'd be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
But,
would you like a game about them?
Well, I don't know if any of you have watched Gotham on Netflix, but it's quite a good show. It's quite a cool show.
I watched the first season.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoy it. Follows obviously young Jim Gordon, stuff like that, before Batman. When Bruce Wayne's young. So it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. I think there's a lot of good storylines they could make from it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit disappointed though, personally. I don't know if I don't know if I would have liked to have seen. There was a rumored Superman game, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I would have been interested in that because it's something different. I don't know whether it would have worked.
How you make a Superman game work from a gameplay point of view. How do you balance a character that's so stupidly overpowered?
That is true, and that would be a problem. But I would say
could find
I do
a way,
think
surely creative.
Yeah,
become creative with it.
Yeah, I do see Matty's point with that. I think, Superman's obviously this unstoppable force, and it's like, well, how would you even die in the game, really? Because it wouldn't make sense. But having said that, I just think the Batman thing now is becoming a little bit tired, I think. I do feel like Batman's becoming tired, and it's been a bit worn in. I mean, I know we all enjoyed the Batman trilogy, didn't we? The main trilogy. I know there's Arkham Origins, but I don't think any of us have played that one.
No,
but
the Arkham trilogy was good.
The Arkham trilogy is a fantastic trilogy.
But it's not Rocksteady making this game, so
no, and that's a problem. Well, we don't know what Rocksteady are working on, do we?
They did deny the Superman game though.
But they definitely said they're not making another Batman game. So
no, but we'll have to see on that one. But I think Batman Arkham Knight for me though kind of ruined the trilogy a little bit. I think you might have enjoyed it a bit more than me. I didn't really enjoy Arkham Knight, and mainly due to the Batmobile. The Batmobile completely ruined the game for me. It was a complete turn off, that Batmobile. I hated using it. It was so horrible.
Every mission,
the amount of missions as well.
It was like every mission. It felt like in the end.
I remember sometimes you had to destroy like 50 different enemy cars with it, and it was like, oh, what am I doing? It's so boring.
Oh, you can't get through this door. You have to use the Batmobile. Oh, and you can't climb up this wall. You have to use the Batmobile. It's like, oh my days.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad, and it ruined the game for me in a way. It's funny though because I do actually own the game. I own the game and all DLC, so I probably should go back to it at some point. But every time I think about going back to it, I just think about the Batmobile parts, and it puts me off.
Do you have any thoughts on the Batmobile, Matt?
In that game, it is overused. I do agree with you. They just thought, oh yeah, we've got the Batmobile. It's really cool, and it is really cool the first time you use it because it's like, yes, I've finally getting to use the Batmobile, one of Batman's most famous gadgets, if you can call it a gadget. And then it just goes on and on and on, and you're not even fighting anything interesting. You're just shooting drone after drone after drone after drone after drone. It's just like, oh, well, it's not interesting anymore. I feel like they just put it in because they had it. It was there to be used.
It definitely was overkill.
It's definitely a mistake using the Batmobile for so long.
Did you enjoy the trilogy as a whole, though?
Yeah. Definitely some high and low points. I feel like the whole trilogy was just kick-started massively by Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was such a good game.
My favourite one. Out of the three.
I know a lot of people like Arkham City. A lot of people would say that's the best one in the trilogy, but I disagree. It was the best one.
I completely agree with you. Arkham Asylum, I think, is the best one on. It's my favourite one as well. I think the atmosphere in that game was tremendous, amazing. I think with those sort of games, I think they work better as linear experiences. Now, yeah, even in Arkham Asylum, there was you could go off and do different side things and things like that, but it was a linear focused experience. Whereas Arkham City, it became more of a, oh, here you go, here's Arkham City, do what you want in it. And it became less focused, and I don't think it was as good because of that. So if they did make a new Batman game, I'd like to see it go more back to a linear style. I don't know if it will, though. I think it's probably more likely to go to the Arkham City style, a new one, but I preferred the more linear approach. Which one did you prefer, Luke?
Asylum, yeah. I'm with you guys there. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a
really fun game.
Yeah,
the villains were cool as well.
The villains, the combat. I enjoyed the combat.
Yeah, combat's it's the best part of the game, isn't it? The combat's so fun.
The combat element was really good.
I mean, look how many games have copied it as well. How many games have copied that style of combat?
Yeah, you could argue
so
Spider-Man.
many. Spider-Man is a complete rip-off, pretty much, of Batman. I mean, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with them doing that because why not learn from the best? Because that combat style is fantastic.
Yeah,
but
it works brilliantly, especially for superheroes.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely works for that style.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's your two opinion on this Batman game in terms of, did you two want to see another Batman game, or were you a bit tired of it?
I feel like it's overkill.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
Overkill. They should just. Superhero games are fine, but I feel like Batman needs to go on a hiatus for a little bit.
Yeah.
In movies and in game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Matt. A little bit overkill. I'm not interested. I'm not going to play it. It just needs a bit of a mix-up. There's a ton of superheroes you could use,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
different IPs you could try and get a hold of and create a new story that doesn't involve Batman, hopefully. But
I do feel like the weaker superheroes make for better superhero games, though. Just going back to the whole like Superman game thing, I just don't think. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea on paper, having a game where you play a Thor or you play a Superman, but it's about balancing it, really. You need to feel vulnerable. You need to feel like, oh, I can actually die in this situation. Because in gaming, there's a lot of like small battles, with gangs of thugs and stuff like that. And if you're fighting a gang of thugs as like Superman, what's the point? You might as well. There's literally no point. You're not going to feel at any point that I can die. Or if you did die, you'd think, what the hell is that? That's the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can see why they constantly go back to like Batman, Spider-Man, those sort of heroes.
What about a Captain America game? That could work.
Yeah. Well, there has been Captain America games. It was just dreadful, wasn't it?
It was a movie license game, though, wasn't it? And
yeah, I mean like a
proper one, yeah, made by like a Rocksteady or something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's why the Arkham Asylum game was so good at first, because I think I was the only one out of all of us that bought that on day one, and everyone was just like, "What are you doing?" Because no one had a clue that game was going to be good when it came out. It was such a shock that it was so good. I started playing through it, and I was like, "Oh God, this is actually brilliant." I just expected it to be like Thor: God of Thunder or something, just some absolute horrendous tie-in. It was just complete dreadful shovelware. And then it got to about halfway through the game, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh God, this is actually like a really, really good game.
Well, do you know what's even more bigger miracle? Rocksteady before that were in Nothing Studio as well. They'd made very average games before that. Some of them are very poor games as well, on like the PS2 and that. So it was more of a miracle story for Rocksteady, because no one expected a developer like Rocksteady to make. What was that? Sorry,
I just said coming of age.
Yeah, definitely, because they were a very average studio before that, Rocksteady, and they'd made it. It goes to show, doesn't it? Sometimes, I suppose, some people complaining about some of the studios Microsoft have bought, such as Compulsion Games and In Exile, not made amazing games, just sort of. But it goes to show sometimes, with a bit of money behind you and a bit more belief, and if Microsoft can give them that belief, maybe In Exile or Compulsion can deliver a game of that magnitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely shows what can be done with a bit of faith in a studio, and giving them a bit of time to actually develop a game.
And the freedom to develop what they want as well, rather than just constricting them. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Well, we'll move on to our last topic, which is a little bit of, I say movie news, is more TV news, I guess. Daredevil has been cancelled on Netflix. So how disappointed are we? Because I know you guys love it. I've watched the first 2 seasons. I haven't seen season 3 yet, and I love the first 2 seasons. So I'm shocked to hear it's been cancelled.
Yeah, it's good news, to be honest. Daredevil was probably one of the best things on Netflix. I really enjoyed season 3. I personally, I know Matty disagrees, but I think season 3 is the best series for me personally. It's my favourite series as well.
Better than season 2?
It ended on such a good note. Yeah, I think so, personally. I just loved it. I loved everything about season 3. It started out the first couple of episodes were a bit slow in season 3. It did start off slowly, but I loved it. I really did. The return, I don't want to really, I suppose maybe a slight spoiler alert.
Hey, I don't want to hear a spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but it was a great. Anyway, I won't say any spoilers. I forgot you haven't watched it, but I am gutted because there was so much more potential with Daredevil.
Do you think it'll be moved over to the Disney streaming service that they're bringing out, or they've already brought out, maybe?
By the sounds of it, though, from what I've seen of some of the actors that were announced, it sounds as they were talking about as if it was done, so as if it was completely gone. So maybe not. Maybe Disney have just decided to cut and run. But I'm very disappointed because it was one of the best things on Netflix, and it's going to be a big miss, definitely.
Yeah, Matt Murdock's blind in Daredevil, and so is the fucker that cancelled this series for Netflix because he obviously wasn't fucking watching it.
I think people can tell you're not very happy though with the decision.
It's a ridiculous decision, though, isn't it? I don't blame Matt for being so angry. It's a ridiculous decision. It's one of the best things on Netflix, and clearly people like it.
I don't understand their reasoning behind it. Like, their reasoning for the Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and all this is like, oh, fan engagement wasn't as high as it was with the previous seasons. But does that really matter as long as it's still quality? Because
yeah, I know. That's what I thought.
I don't really tweet about what I'm watching on Netflix. I just watch it and enjoy it. And the last shows that they've got on there, I mean, I'm not being funny, but I'm very close to cancelling my Netflix membership because the Marvel shows was one of the only reasons that I still watched it.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more stuff on there. That's just me personally. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the Punisher. That's getting a second season, but now we know the fate of that is going to be cancelled after season.
Probably season 2, and then that'll be done.
It just seems to be like they're done with Marvel. Yeah. Like Netflix and Marvel just seems to be a done.
Another reason, I know you're used to a big fan of Friends. That's going off Netflix, isn't it? Apparently on January the 1st as well.
Yeah,
so
they managed to.
That's another reason to cancel it
on the US version though, because there was such uproar. Yeah. They changed their mind for Netflix US.
Not in UK though, unfortunately. So yeah, that'll be a miss for a lot of people.
To be honest, if I paid for my Netflix, because I don't,
you'd cancel it.
I'd cancel it. Yeah, but I get it.
I keep it on. I keep it on because for me,
how much is it anymore though?
Well, what is it? $6.99 a month. I still watch it now and again, and there's still good things on there.
I thought the price had gone up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you about it, didn't I? I recently watched that. The Netflix show, the Dogs Netflix show, which was really good. I really enjoyed that. So little things like that they come out with, I still enjoy. The originals they come out with. But it's, if they start cancelling more things like this, it's going to be less appealing. But I still think Netflix, there's some good shows on there.
It's been a long time since I've watched Netflix properly. I mean, I used to be on it all the time, hence why Matty dubbed me Elden Flicks for a while.
Yeah,
that was the only thing I ever saw you on. So you've
yeah.
Well, yeah, it wasn't far from the truth, to be honest. But now, I don't know. It just seems to be a lack of shows that grip my interest, I guess. And with them getting rid of Daredevil, it's a bit disappointing to hear there'll be more.
It is.
Well, on that downer, I guess we'll finish the show because we're really all disappointed.
What a bloody disgrace.
It is a
R.I.P. Daredevil.
Yeah. R.I.P. Matt Murdock.
R.I.P. BioWare.
R.I.P. Foggy Nelson.
R.I.P. JGP.
R.I.P. Karen Page. All in the grave now.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
As Matty said last week, press X to pay respects.
Yep. Exactly.
Well... Yeah, so like I said, we'll finish the show there. Where can people find you on the social medias, Sud?
You can find me if you want to tweet me about anything or just follow me. It's at David10Spud on Twitter.
Okay, and you're just on Twitter, aren't you?
Just on Twitter, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. And how about you, Matt? Where can people find you?
I'd really appreciate it if people told me how wrong I am at Matty Cheatham on Twitter and at Matty Cheatham on Instagram.
All right, perfect.
I do love a good argument.
Yeah, maybe some people will tell you how.
I hope they do.
I think you just have to keep calling them little Jimmies.
Yeah,
you keep it well.
Actually, no, I did not say LJ because I'm going to refrain from saying it in this podcast now that I've realised that I've managed to go an entire podcast without saying it. I didn't say that that thing once today, so I'm proud of myself.
Good. You keep trying to bait people, though, don't you? I think it'll work one time at the end of the podcast. Someone's going to react to it at some point.
I'll stuff it. Just get rid of all the little Jimmies. They're a cancer on gaming.
There we go. Have to mention it at least once every podcast.
And there's the clip for the podcast on social media. Right. Well, anyway, if people want to follow me on social media and send me any abuse or anything like that, you can follow me on Twitter at Leld, LEL3Ds. And the same on Instagram, just add a 9. You can also find Checkpoint Reached on YouTube, just Checkpoint Reached. And then for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, it's at CheckReachPod. So yeah, that's the end of this show, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll speak to you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.